The Last Lesson by Alphonse Daudet. Born in 1840, died in the year 1897. The story narrates about the year 1870, when the Prussian forces under Bismarck attacked and captured France. The French districts of Alsace and Lorraine went into Prussian hands. The new Prussian rulers discontinued the teaching of French in the schools of these two districts, and learning of the German language was made compulsory. French teachers were asked to leave. The story unfolds with French, a French student, being out for school, meanwhile forgetting to learn the rules of French participle. So he dreaded his French teacher, Mr. M. Hamel's scolding, and of course, his iron ruler. For a while, he felt like bunking the school and enjoy the birds chirruping and the Prussian soldiers drilling. But somehow, he resisted the temptation and headed towards the school again. On the way, he noticed that the people had surrounded the bulletin board, and for the last 2 years all the bad news had come from there, be it the lost battles, the drought, you name it. Though he was curious to know, but he couldn't stand there and stare. He was late, he had to rush. So he ran again and finally reached the school garden. Usually when school began, there used to be a great bustle, which could be heard out in the street, but now it was all so still, as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window, he saw his classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. But somehow he mustered the courage and went inside the class, but nothing happened. M. Hamel very politely directed him to take his place. Poor French did not know as to what was going on. The entire class was so strange and solemn, but the thing that surprised him the most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly, like old Hauser, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several others beside. The old Hauser had brought an old primer and held it open on his knees. Even Mr. M. Hamel had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. While he was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair and in a grave and gentle tone said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." Franz was shocked to know that he could not learn French any longer, and now he knew what was there at the bulletin board. Alas, how French regretted for not being serious towards studies. Why, he could hardly read and write in French. The news that the teacher was leaving filled his heart with great sorrow, like that of all, and the villagers were there to show their respect to the French teacher for his 40 years of faithful service. While he was thinking of all this, he heard his name called. It was his turn to recite the dreadful rule of participle. What would he not have given to be able to see it very clear and loud without a mistake? But he got mixed upon the first two words and stood there, his heart throbbing and not daring to look up. But M. Hamel did not scold him, as now he thinks French has realized his mistake. He says that all the people of Alsace were to be blamed, as no one was serious towards learning. He tells the class that the enemies would laugh at them and say that they only showed to be Frenchmen as they can neither speak nor write their own language. He says that France should not feel guilty as everyone is at fault. He says that he is to be blamed as he used to declare a holiday and go out for fishing, or tell the students to water the plants when he was not interested to teach them. The parents are to be blamed as well, as they were not interested in getting their children educated. They wanted their children to work at a farm or a mill and earn some money. And of course, the students who always used to keep their study pending and used to think they will learn some other day, but alas, there was no other day for them. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical. He tells the class to guard their language, as it is the only way to free oneself from the prison of slavery. Knowing the mother tongue is like holding on to one's true identity and knowing exactly who you are. Now Mr. M. Hamel wanted to make the best use of the limited time. He taught the students grammar. Franz thought that he never have understood so well like it before. It could either be because the poor man was teaching them with all the might, or that Franz was listening with the keen interest. After grammar, they had a lesson in writing and reading. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Persians returning from the drill sounded under the windows, signifying the last lesson has come to an end. Everyone looked very sad and serious as they were at the verge of losing their language. Ending with it would be their identity. Mr. M. Hamel stood up very pale in his chair. "My friends," said he, I, but something choked him. He could not go on. Then he turned to the board, took a piece of chalk. He wrote as large as he could, "Vive la France," which means "Long live France." Then he stopped, leaned his head against the wall, made a gesture. "School is dismissed. You may go." With this, today's lesson has come to an end. But we shouldn't forget that the last lesson stresses on the importance of education and the necessity to learn and respect one's own language. Thank you so much. Be back.